Hi there, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Ben Jones. Moody's are considering an upgrade for Colombia, and with GDP figures released this evening, I have Harish Natarajan on the line to discuss the Colombian economy. So Harish, if we can discuss some of the data that's come out of Colombia recently, retail sales have remained very strong, topping 7% on an annual basis. How vital are these figures for the Colombian economy? And very generally, how is the economy performing at the moment?
The strength of retail is very important for the Colombian economy. Broadly speaking, Colombia is dependent on strong consumption. Consumption contributes about 2/3 of its GDP, and strong retail indicates strong domestic demand and therefore strong growth. More generally, I think, consumption is particularly important for economies right now, with external conditions reasonably soft, and Colombia's mining industry facing specific problems. The strength of domestic demand shows that the economy is likely to continue to expand at a strong pace. So it's very positive for the economy in general. In terms of your second question about how the Colombian economy is doing in general, I think it seems to be very positive. It's been performing above expectations for the last year. And while the 6% growth rates we saw in 2011 seem unlikely to manifest themselves again, in general, the economy will be doing well. And if anything, looks to be more stable than it was when it was growing at a much faster rate.
Now, Moody's have recently stated there are various trends that point towards an upgrade for Colombia. Would you say that this is justified? And what's driving the economy?
Yes, broadly speaking, I think it's certainly justified. Moody currently gives Colombia its lowest investment grade rating, which is one notch below that of S&P and Fitch. The reason Moody's has been suggesting for about the last year that it would consider upgrading Colombia, I think given elections having just finished, growth remaining strong, and macroeconomic stability looking to be secure, it seems like a good time for the agency to do so. In general, I think what's driving the upgrade from Moody's, but potentially further upgrades from other ratings agencies as well, is a long-term improvement. Firstly, when it comes to fiscal policy, we've seen the development of a fiscal fund to save revenue from the commodity sector, and you've seen the development of domestic capital markets, both very important for the country's long-term fiscal stability. Further, I think debt has been falling year on year, looks to be around 32%, and deficits are under control. So in general, the country is very positive. What I would say is that almost a note of warning about this is while we can look at upgrades as a very useful thing, and they are, it's worth noting that there are still some challenges to the economy. You'll probably see a reasonable increase in social spending in the next few years following the election. You'll probably see fewer free trade agreements as well. And there's still always the risk of narco violence, and particularly risk of the reemergence of violence with FARC. But nonetheless, this Colombia looks to be one which is a high-performing country and deserving of an upgrade.
And finally, coming up for this week for Colombia, there's GDP figures released and an interest rate decision. Firstly, with Colombia expected to be the second best performing Latin American economy this year, what are you expecting from the GDP figures? And secondly, will there be any change in the interest rate?
So, in terms of the GDP figures, there's been a reasonable consensus that the economy would have grown close to 5% in quarter one, which is very positive. It will probably indicate that overall for the year, the economy will grow by about 4.5%. Which, given the fragile nature of the global recovery, given some of the challenges when it comes to commodity prices, it's certainly very positive. So I think the great growth story and the data we'll see today will be very indicative of that. In terms of interest rates, so the Colombian Central Bank has increased interest rates twice over the last 2 months. The reason they've done so is, with the economy looking strong, with unemployment falling, the plan is to have a more neutral stance when it comes to interest rates rather than an expansionary stance. That said, while I imagine over the next 6-7 months you'll probably see 1 or 2 more rises in interest rates, I think they'll probably hold fire this month. But I would expect to see by the end of the year interest rates over 4%, maybe 4.25%. even though I don't think that increase will occur in the very near future.
Harish, thank you very much for joining us once again. That's all from me for today, but click back tomorrow as I'll be bringing you your final edition of forecasts for the week. Goodbye.